Hello, 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 hello. It is April Rogerson with the Slay Your Day podcast, and I am here with Attiyah. Pronounce your last name.
Attiyah Nadirah.
Okay. I kind of thought that was it, but I didn't. Again, I don't like butchering up people's names. My son has a unique name, and people butcher it all the time. And when he was younger, he used to have to spell his name. That's how I always did it. So when he started like 4, he would say, "My name is Sati, Sati."
Just say it out loud. Yeah, just spell it out.
Right.
See, spelling my name doesn't help because people assume it's Attiyah, so it doesn't help. It doesn't help the case.
So the unique names, praise the Lord. It is a beautiful thing, but people will jack it up.
Right.
So Attiyah's here. She's a Jill of many, many trades. We're going to talk about most of them, but you have one that lit fire that I really want us to talk about extensively. But a little bit about you. You have done quite a bit of marketing, social media marketing in general, and talk about kind of where that began for you.
Okay. I actually just fell in love with the digital space way back when like YouTube first started out. And I had my first viral video, I want to say in 2014, I want to say. Oh no, it maybe even have been before that, but it was on YouTube. And if you know, back then YouTube was a different character. That may have been even before that, but nevertheless, I was responding back to a comedian, and I ended up getting like 30,000 views, and that was like my first taste to virality and realizing that I could do it. And since I had already had a passion for art and creating, it just made sense that I would then figure out how to combine the two, figure out if I could use this, this ability to get views on the internet with my ability to make money. And those two just kind of came together.
Money. Because going viral that feels good in the moment, but at the end of the day, we want some money.
It does not translate to dollars. A lot of people think that simply because you get millions of views that you're making millions of dollars. That is not the case. You have to figure out how to
expand
monetize
on that.
I figured out pretty early in the game. I feel like I predicted it in myself, and of course with professionals recognizing that the market was very quickly going to monetize the creator space. And I tried to figure out the best way to do that. And myself, I would go into Facebook groups. See, I'm a millennial. I'm the Facebook generation. And I'm diehard. I'll stay there. And I would go into groups and I would share my opinions, and I would end up getting a lot of influence within these groups. And then I would funnel people to my own group. And from there, I would sell them a product. And I would sell them a digital product because it was something that I could make, a million times over. I can make one time and it could sell a million times over. And that's basically how I figured out how to monetize. Before they were giving out the digital product courses and all of that, I just kind of naturally flowed into that space.
Right. And interesting enough, something that we talk about here is how you can pivot organically, right? So a lot of times people have this notion that there has to be some type of grand plan, or you have to have gone to school for this, or you had to have done that. And it really is not a specific thing that you need to do.
Right.
You kind of fell into this, for lack of a better term, and you're kind of like, light bulb.
Right.
Let me figure out a way.
I was in a particular group. It was called Black Girls Craft. Shout out to them. I was able to create designs, and the people in there, they were using something called a Cricut. I don't know if everybody knows about a Cricut, but it's a cut machine that can cut designs. And basically they would use my art to create designs for their products. And then I started licensing that work and created a membership for it. For my membership platform, ended up making 6 figures just because it was just such a useful thing. I genuinely fell into it. It was a need in the market, and I fulfilled it.
Yes. So a need in the market, 1. 2, being prepared to address that need.
Right.
And 3, being prepared or willing to pivot. What were you doing before that?
I was a traditional artist. I was selling traditional paintings before then. Literally, a friend of mine told me about it, and I was not a digital artist yet, but I had access to a free platform called Inkscape. It's still free. It's an amazing platform. If you're a starting out digital artist, go to Inkscape. Just Google it. And it is a open source, sort of like an Adobe Illustrator competitor. And I was able to use those to create SVGs. And I taught myself literally in a couple of days, just because it was necessary. I saw the need in the market and decided, hey, I will pivot.
Okay, tell the people and me, what is an SVG?
Okay, so an SVG is...
She over here talking all type of artist digital speak to us. We're like, what you mean by that now?
It just means a scalable vector graphic, which means we can make it as big or small as we need without it pixelating or becoming too grainy. And those are really useful for things like logos, but they're also particularly helpful for when you're creating designs that have multiple layers, because you're able to recognize those multiple layers. And so those are still very useful. That's something that AI actually hasn't tapped into yet, so it's actually quite useful if you're a graphic designer still looking to get into the industry, and you're a little intimidated by AI. I think that's still a great market to get into.
Yeah, perfect. So first viral video, but that you didn't stop there. No. You didn't stop there. You have done a wonderful job at presenting yourself to the public, because that's another piece of the pie. And obviously there are videos and people who go viral without being the face of their product, quote unquote. But monetizing your existence is something that you have done a great job at. And taking that a step further. You and I have been friends on Facebook for some time. It started in South Fulton, South Fulton Problems Group. We down with South Fulton. We trying to help, and we're a part of the community.
I'm always in my community's business every time.
So that's how we connected initially. I didn't know anything about you, right? But then you started this viral. So first you mentioned about being on Facebook, staying on Facebook, and all of that. And I love Facebook too. I feel like those are my people.
Those
right?
are my people. That is my core audience. I actually make more money off of my Facebook that only has 12,000 followers as opposed to my TikTok that has 216,000.
So TikTok, that's where we're going with this, right? So I'm following you. We are interacting on there. I think you're just one of my normal Facebook friends on Facebook.
Right.
And you have this video go berserk on TikTok. And in this berserk video, you were talking about
how to make money creatively.
Right? So this is not, you don't have to have any quote unquote expertise.
No.
You don't have to have a master's in creativity.
I don't have a master's in anything. I'm very much a college dropout. No, The whole series was basically how to survive poverty.
How to survive poverty.
That was the name of the series, and I'm going to continue that series. But yeah, that was basically what it was about, because that's what I had to do. I had children very young. I had my first child when I was 19. I had my twins when I was 21. So by 21, I had 3 kids, you know, and there was no daycare in the world that I could afford to be out of the home and make money happen. So I had to start teaching myself valuable skills, and that's basically what it boiled down to. And like I said, YouTube had grown by then, and I shy away from saying that I'm self-taught because it feels like it's a little funny, but I do say I'm community taught. So like I'm taught by the community of YouTube. I say I graduated from the University of YouTube because I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money, and I couldn't.
You had to make a way.
Yeah, I couldn't settle with the idea that you had to have money to make money, because I was like, okay, but somebody else did it. So I just figured out really creative ways to stretch the least amount of money as physically possible creatively.
Right. And as a young person, and I'm not necessarily saying you're a young person because I'm young at heart, but TikTok was at that time where the bulk of the young people were, right? And something that we talk about here is this notion that, well, first of all, I feel that there's something happening with the young people, right? There's this weird space that they're in for the 25 to like early 30s that's just still like there's this massive hurdle that they're trying to overcome, and they don't quite know how to do it. And sometimes when we're talking to them, meaning me, the Zennial, they're like, you don't understand.
Right.
You don't get it. You don't understand. You don't understand. And in some ways, I don't understand. But at the other side of things, I think you're at a very, the chasm where you're saying I'm a millennial, and you have lived in the analog world, and you've also experienced the digital world.
Very much.
And being able to translate that and communicating with that TikTok audience, because it blew up there.
Yeah, very much.
It blew up there. I don't recall if you posted the videos to Facebook, but I don't know that it would have taken on that type of trajectory on Facebook, right?
And what's so funny is I was about to go to bed when I filmed that. I filmed that late at night, and I was just like, and I had a very lackadaisical, like, I'm just telling people like the different things I've done to make money, and it was going viral before I even got to sleep.
Right.
So it was very much, it was a reality that people are going, that this is useful information. Like I thought it just came to me naturally, like, oh, okay, well, I have no money, so How am I going to make some money out of no money?
Right.
And I figured it out.
Right. So I definitely. So I have I call him my fake son. I laugh every time because now when I say that to him, he's like, "I'm not fake." I'm like, "No, that's not what I mean. I didn't birth you, so I'm calling you my fake son." He's 26 right now, and I think there is some missing piece there about figuring things out, right?
Yes.
And I feel that in a lot of ways, the digital world has kind of lent itself to them not having to do that, right? And coming from a little bit earlier generation, there was still some figure outness that needed to be done, right? You couldn't just Google things when you were a kid.
When I tell you the things that they have access to now, that oh my goodness. Yeah, no, there Pinterest was barely a thing. We was getting it out the mud. Getting it out the mud.
I think that there's something to be said about this disconnect between having too much information, right?
It's almost like having too much money. It hinders creativity because you're constantly looking for more information and you're not doing because you're looking to get yet another course, yet another something where you're like, oh, well, look, if I just get more information, then maybe I'll do. You need very little information to make money. All you need is to know that somebody has a problem and that you have the skill to fix it.
Expand on that.
That's it.
Because again, I think even for us, some of us that are a little bit older, having access as well has kind of crippled us in some ways. It's like, let me do some more research.
Right.
Let me go watch all these YouTube University. Let me watch all the TikToks.
And those are all helpful, but that's 20%. So you do it's 20% research, 80% execution, and that's what you have to limit yourself to, because otherwise you'll just keep absorbing information. And I'm a digital marketer. I love the digital space. I love making money from digital marketing, but you do not need it. Word of mouth is more powerful than anything in the world. If you're a plumber, you do not need to have a dope Instagram and a website. All you need to do is do your job well, save one homeowner, and you can end up getting the whole neighborhood, and from that neighborhood get a whole nother neighborhood. Like, word of mouth is still so valuable. We tend to think, I need a dope logo. I need all of these things to make money. All you need is a problem to solve, and somebody with the money that wants that problem solved. And not overcomplicating that is difficult because we do have the digital space now. We do have access to all of these different tools, so we think that we need them simply because they exist. And because I come from a generation where they didn't exist.
So that's where I think, again, keeping to your point about that, we're kind of like, I didn't have this when I was growing up. If I had that, I would. And I say, because our son, he's 17, he's going to be 18. And sometimes there's a clash with him and dad at times for the similar types of, I didn't have that, so I would have. And I'm like, you have no idea what you would do if you had. Because you didn't have.
We didn't have it.
And you had to figure it out. If you had access, if you had the privilege of being able to do something in 0.3 seconds, your mindset would be very different. You cannot assume that we would have been...
It's actually very interesting, and the phenomenon happens even when, like, you have migrants move here. When they didn't have things in their country and then they have it here, they're like, now they have the comparison, so they're able to come here and multiply their money so much quickly versus people who are already here. Like, what do you mean? They were born into it. They're like, no, it's hard. Because that's what they're born into. So because I've had the benefit of having been born when I didn't have it, and now I know how much easier it is now that we have it, it was never quote unquote hard. It was always easy for me, but that's not the same for the future, for new generations, because they didn't have access to it.
Yeah. So something that you mentioned more than once is identifying a problem and figuring out how to solve it. Those problems are not necessarily big problems. Right? So stuff that you mentioned, the things that you were suggesting were not massive problems. These are small problems, but they're an inconvenience for the person who has that problem. Right?
Particularly if they have the money to do it. I'm a person that pays for convenience myself. We tend to think another issue is, like, as entrepreneurs or just people in a particular situation that's offering a service, we tend to think because we could not afford our service, that no one else could. Not the case. Somebody else can. Enough people can. And that's all you need is enough people. You don't need everybody. You just need about 5 to 10 people that's doing it every month, and you're good. So it's like, we tend to think like, oh, well, no one's going to be able to afford that. No, they can. It's just a matter of making sure that you're solving that problem for them.
So you mentioned many different things, but let's talk about some examples of the items that you were like, if this is a problem, this is how you can solve it. some of those types of things.
Okay, so for instance, with my graphic design business that I ended up licensing, one of the biggest issues within the market were there were no images of Black people. There were, you had just very few to choose from, but what most Black entrepreneurs that were creating these products were doing were like filling in white characters Black, so they didn't get the Afro textured hair. There were just very few artists. That was a big problem for them, so I created designs that look like us. It was real simple problem. it wasn't, but they were able to then take that and then they could sell to customers that look like them. So it was able to really help a market thrive. Like the influx of my designs inspired other artists to then bring in designs, and it actually created a situation where novices were coming in and kind of messing up the market. So I ended up teaching people for free how to do what I was doing so that we could have as many designs as possible. And to this day, I still make money selling Black art. Like it wasn't, they were like, oh, it's going to get saturated. And I'm like, no, there's millions of Black people. I think we're fine. I think we're fine. You don't need millions and millions of customers.
You don't need millions and millions of customers.
You just need a couple. Like I said, depending on what you're selling, you can only need a few. You might only need a couple hundred, but there's millions of people.
And in that regard, you don't need millions and millions of customers, and you also need to be prepared for when your business starts to thrive, because you go from I didn't have anything to all of a sudden there's so many people coming to me and I cannot. And I think that definitely happens with us culturally, right? So it's like you just took off or you just went viral and now you have 100 orders and you're so used to only having 10 orders.
Right.
And so
and you don't even create the space for it. That's why it's good to actually grow organically. Like I'm big on viral marketing. I'm big on growing quickly, but growing quickly comes with its problems because you don't have the ability to like navigate as you go. It just goes from 0 to 100 and you're figuring out everything as it happens. It's good to have as many things in place to mitigate that as possible, but you don't know till it happens.
Right.
When my video started getting millions of views, I was like, I figured it would be pretty popular, but I was like, I ain't have no ebook to sell. Like I ain't have nothing to give nobody. Like
you were not able to quickly leverage this, getting out of poverty.
I was just like, oh, people are gonna find this interesting, and then
which is funny, right? Because you created this not necessarily considering the virality of it and being able to monetize it, right? Because this could have easily been a $3 ebook, right behind it, right?
What's so interesting is I was well versed in creating ebooks and stuff. I created an ebook very quickly. I even forgot the name of it right now, but it's like the Breaking the Money Mindset or something. Creative thinking ebook, but it was free. And what I did was you could give a tip if you wanted to. That ebook got downloaded over 500 times. I made a few $100s. Like a lot of people tipped, some people didn't, but I did leverage it too, like after the fact.
Right. But that only speaks to the idea that you don't have to have it all figured out. At the beginning,
you can go.
You can creatively come up with things and respond to the market, right? So again, in this instance, some of the ideas that you did come up with, taking it like, let's drop it down a few notches, because what you mentioned was very, good and also needed in the industry. But you were talking about things like if you have a neighbor who needs groceries, if you like we're talking I'm
talking about the bare basics. In the video itself, what I do is I create different restraints that people have, and then maybe you don't have a car. So if you don't have a car, then you think to yourself, what are the things that I can do without a car? Typically that means you have access to the internet. If you have access to the internet, you're blessed. You have access to everything that you need to make money. You have access to millions of people. So what can you offer the people on the internet? Decide a very specific person. Say it could be college students. They might need essays written. If you're good at writing essays, write them an essay. If you're good at, creating literally anything, any skill set that you're good, you just have to think, who can I solve this problem for? I've seen people make money from literally drawing little characters. It really genuinely doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's a problem that can be fixed.
Right. So that was one way. I know I saw you mention something about, so for example, after school care, right? So it's kind of like, you have 5 people in your neighborhood who need the kids picked up from school,
about if you don't have a car, leg power, foot power. My mom she's always says that, like, if you have your 2 feet, you can travel, you can get to where you need to go, walk around your neighborhood, because 9 times out of 10, like, there's people making money. All they do is like write the numbers on the curb for you, like they just with paint. The paint is $3. Okay, you take the paint, you go write it on the curb. But that really helps ambulances find it. People were paying like $15-$20 per person. You do that throughout your whole neighborhood, then you hit the next neighborhood, and you just keep rinse, wash, repeat. Hire your homeboy, y'all do it. Like it's you just keep it going. If you find out that it hits and people want it, you figure out how to scale it. You keep it going.
And it doesn't have to be something massive, right? Because we think we have to have these big ideas.
Listen, one of the greatest jokes right now is going to be cleaning out trash cans. Like going into neighborhoods, they have all the trash and the maggots and all that stuff. If you can rent you a pressure washer from Home Depot for like $30. Get you some nice cleaning products. I mean, literally start up for less than $50, and you can offer to clean them on a weekly basis for a price point of $25 to $30 a week. Carry the 1 plus the 2. You see what I'm saying? You get 20 people that you do every week.
Right.
And you just clean out trash cans. That doesn't require a specific skill. It's just something that other people don't want to do, and they'll pay for the convenience of having it done.
Yes. This is what we're talking about. So, so many of these things, and many of these people who you see these businesses today started with that.
Right.
I saw a need. I started out very small. I did these things, and when I started doing, which is the 80% that you spoke about, when I started doing, this whole entire business opened up for me that I did not expect. Right? So it could very well become your washing trash cans every week now turns into a washing trash cans business, right?
You got a truck under your name, you got a couple employees, and you don't even have to touch the trash can yourself. Like, you don't have to jump into the business with that, like, oh, I got to get a business loan to get a truck and all that. No, you need one trash can and one customer, like, to the very bare basics. Even if you have access to capital, think about how you can do it for the least amount of money physically possible anyway.
Right.
Just see what that looks like, because you're able to expand your creativity that way.
And the other thing is, it doesn't have to turn into a business.
No.
Which is something else, right? Because I feel like there's an entrepreneurial push all the time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, but it does not have to be a big business.
It could just
it doesn't
buy
have
you
to grow into some
free time. Like, you get into any endeavor with that in mind, because I was going to mention burnout is a real thing. So hustle culture, I used to be an avid hustle culture person. I'm not about the hustle culture anymore. I'm more so about sustainable hustle, like, making sure that what you're doing, if you don't want to open up a trash can business because that's not your goal, don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. Just do it enough to get your money up. Or even something else that you could consider is selling it to somebody else. Sell the business. Sell your customers. Make a nice little profit and go on about your day. Like, there's so many different ways, but making sure you're not overextending yourself for something that you're not even passionate about is also part of it.
Yeah, and I, in addition to that, what your why is could very well be, I just need an extra $100 or $200 a month to help offset, whatever I do for my normal day-to-day life.
I don't want to feel guilty about going out and hanging out with my friends. I want to have an extra vacation money. I want to put more money in my savings. Like, these are all justifiable goals. It does not have to, everything doesn't have to turn into a multi-million-dollar business. Like, I promise you, success is measured so many different ways. It's just like, I have, we're in a time where people are trying to monetize every single thing. And as someone who's a creative, it can be very quickly become exhausting. And so when people are trying to make quick money, I actually recommend not doing something that they're super passionate about, but rather doing something that they're really good at and they can do quickly, and it doesn't exert a whole lot of energy. So that they can get whatever the goal is. It could just be to save up money for college. Like, it does not have to turn into
a full-fledged, multinational, I'm ready to go public with this.
Right. It can just be a thing.
I think with that being the case, that's what makes it that much more harder to do, because you're already trying to think of ways to make this into a thing.
Right.
And it's like, it doesn't have to be a thing.
It doesn't have to be a thing.
It can just start out as something very basic.
A lot of people jump into things like, okay, I want to make $1 million off of this and yada, yada, yada. But the reality is, right now they're in a situation where an extra 2 bands. An extra 2 bands would really hit. Like, they're thinking really big. And I'm like, an extra 2 bands would probably really hit. So, like, how can you get that? That's 2 $1,000 clients. That's 5, just really breaking it down for yourself. You could get exactly what you need done.
So, I agree with you. And there's those 2 things. It's the hustle culture part and the hitting a big lick part, right? And it's just like, most of these circumstances that you see where these people seem like they hit a lick or whatever. They did a lot of work in the background that you're not aware of.
Right.
So even someone seeing you going viral on TikTok, right? They have no any idea of the existence of your YouTube first 2000 whichever year that was. They have no idea about what you're growing and the things that you're doing on Facebook before you make it to TikTok.
Or even the people that saw me get my digital art business, like when I was going viral and that was really growing, I had to, before then I built my own website because I taught myself web design. I built the graphics. I taught myself the graphics. That took years up until that point, but they saw the boom.
Right.
But they didn't see the grind prior to that.
So let's talk about that a little bit more, because I think that is something that should be explored, because prior to even the boom of that piece, you did something before that. And what was that something, and how were you able to balance that with motherhood?
Okay, because I didn't have a choice.
Right.
I had my twins and my oldest only 2.5 years apart. So it was like I said, I was very much at home. I was a traditional artist. So I targeted businesses. I pretty much figured out quickly that businesses would pay more. So hair salons would like really nice artwork in their places. I did murals. But yeah, I was a traditional artist through and through. That was my thing, and I was able to make a couple hundred off of that. But then I also learned how to flip furniture from buying stuff from the thrift store, making it nice, selling it for more profit. I did that. That was back when the thrift store was cheaper. It's not as cheap as
I know it's not, right? It's like you go on down to the Goodwill, you're like, how much is this stuff?
They charge in retail at Goodwill now, so it's not the same.
Nothing is wholesale anymore, right?
It's not the same.
So at no point prior to that, being a traditional artist, did you ever have like a 9-to-5, and I'm saying 9-to-5, but a traditional work job?
So I worked at Six Flags. I worked at Six Flags when I was a teenager.
The quintessential first Atlanta job.
From 15, I got the job when I was 16. They came to my school for like a workshop or something. I did, a job scouting, and I was an airbrush artist, and so I did. They taught me, and I was like, they basically will pay you, and we'll teach you how to airbrush. And I was like, you'll teach me a new skill? That's all I cared about.
So, you don't even have to pay me.
And genuinely, and even then, we made commission based. So if you had to make minimum wage. So if you didn't at least hit minimum wage, then you got that. But typically, I was making about $16 to $17 per hour. Just airbrushing shirt. But there was no way you're going to get me to work an hourly job after that. And I was able to sell my artwork. Yeah, they were never able to really fully indoctrinate me, because I was. When I got into the real world after school, they were like, "Yeah, we'll pay you $8.50." I was like, "Excuse me."
I was making $17 an hour.
I could go paint a piece of wood and make $500. Y'all are crazy. No, thank you. Bye. So that's why I never had a job. It was the money wasn't mathing for me, so I had to.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that is very interesting, and I think one of the things that has been the case throughout most of your life that you've said so far is that you use your artistry to propel you forward on each kind of pivot that you've had to do. And to your point, I think where sometimes we get lost is trying to figure out how we can, because I don't think people always use their talents. I think they're always trying to figure out, how do I make the most money? What do I need to do to get money? But not so much about, I am talented at A.
And that's an issue. A lot of people don't realize that they are talented, but they're like, "Well, I don't really do anything. Well, I don't just watch shows, or I just do this." And it's just like your special interest is a talent. Like depending, like for instance, I have a sister. She could give you every pop culture reference based on every cartoon. That would be great content that somebody would love to just watch, and just to analyze people and analyze it from a psychological perspective. There's so much that just your little special interest is a talent of yours, and what you indulge in. And there's a tribe that would be willing to have access to that, be willing to pay for like additional things that you can make in association with it. So
especially today, right? I think that prior to social media, you had to physically go out and find these groups or make these groups and things like that.
Yeah.
But now it's a digital relationship, right? And at one point, and people still say this now, but I don't think they say it as much as they used to, where it's like, it's just Facebook, it's just social media. But really, there are many relationships, true relationships, that have been garnered beyond.
I created an entire social media platform with someone I met on Facebook, and she is my ace spoon coon to this day. Like, I love her to death, and we have been Facebook friends for almost 15 years. And we've like wanted to go meet each other at this point. So yeah.
I was about to say, and sometimes you never even meet them.
Sometimes you don't. Like sometimes they're like, I have people that are on the West Coast that I have been friends with for 10 to 12 years now that like if anything happened to them, I'd be devastated because they're like, what do you mean?
So it's like it's pen pals on steroids,
like,
right?
What do you mean?
It's like
I can check in with their family. I can be like, hey mom, like have you heard from so and so? Like never met these people a day in my life. So yes, very much the case.
So it's a beautiful thing what we have today and how it's grown and how it's evolved and how we can use it in a much bigger way than any of us could have anticipated. Because again, it's pen pals on steroids, and you can remember back when you wrote a pen pal and you wrote the letter and you mailed it and you put little sparkles in there, sent it and hoped that they were. And now it's like you instantaneously have a pen pal that can be anywhere.
And that's why I'm so close to my Facebook following, because my Facebook following has been with me since Facebook opened. So I've been there since I was like, 17, 18 years old. And so they've watched me evolve. They watched my business evolve. And they, like a lot of people who follow me now, they follow me because of some piece of content that I posted that resonated with them. And I just like how, how much closer it is and how, like, I'll go to tell a story to one of my Facebook followers. I'm like, yeah, I remember. I was there. I'm like, that happened 5 years ago. I was present. I remember when it happened. You told us about it. And I was like, oh, goodness. So, yeah, it's a real play.
And it takes the notion of the word of mouth to another level, right? Because what you mentioned earlier was the fact that, you don't need to have this viral post or this viral Facebook community when reality says if you create community on any social media platform and people feel like they know you, like you, and trust you, they will do business and they will continue to refer you business
genuinely
in the same organic way as in person.
Right. And that's why I chose to brand myself as opposed to branding like a business. I'm just Attiyah Nadirah everywhere. So people that find me, they can either find my personal page, they can find my real page. The brand is me and myself. So whatever I say, if it is controversial, you follow me. You already knew what I was on. Okay, like you already know what I'm about. Don't act brand new now, So I make sure that the people that follow me is because they're my tribe. So it doesn't matter what I'm selling. They already trust me. They're already like, oh, if Attiyah's selling it, I trust that it's good.
And
I want it.
It's the support of the virtual aunties and uncles, the virtual cousins, the virtual, virtual family and friends that, again, when in the analog world, it was like if you were selling candy or whatever it was, you went around to everybody in the building to sell that candy. They know you, they know of you. They're like, okay, fine, I'll support you, right? It's like, I don't really need this, whatever.
I don't need it, but I'll take it, right.
Right. So I think what you have done and what you have created is amazing, and I know you're going to continue to pivot even more. And you mentioned that you wanted to remind me again of what you called the segment that you've been doing on TikTok.
Surviving poverty.
Correct.
Right.
What do you foresee for that segment going forward? I know you started out with kind of making videos and you did the ebook. What are some other ideas? Because I know your mind has been churning.
So my mind's been churning, and it's because I wanted to. I took a break from TikTok. I haven't really posted. I took a break, but mostly for mental health. But I always do this. I will take several months off of social media just to reset because it is a lot. It takes a lot of energy out of you. But I want to also make sure that I'm creating content I'm actually proud of. So as moving forward, I wanted to make sure that I'm integrating all the new tools that are accessible. So because when I started TikTok in 2020, we didn't have AI. Right now we have ChatGPT. Now we have all of these different things, and people, particularly creatives, may be really nervous about what that looks like for them and if they're actually still profitable. So I want to create a series that really helps, mitigate some of those fears. Like, we will always be profitable. Creativity will always be in demand. There's never a worry about that. So that's where I want to take my content moving forward.
Awesome. So Attiyah has been amazing, and she's dropped amazing gems. Where do they follow you if they want to get more?
I am Attiyah Nadirah on every platform: TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Attiyah Nadirah. That's ATIYYANADIRAH.
Oh, and wait a minute. I don't know if you're able to talk about this yet, and if you're not, we'll just cut this part out. the app. What? The date stuff, the app stuff. What is the name of this place? The app that you are helping to develop. Yes.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. I was making sure we were talking about it.
I was just like, wait, that's
Okay,
all right. Yes.
So recently I was brought on to team for an app in development called Great Night, and it is basically a way for you to find the best things going on every night, and it's going to be algorithm based, and it's going to be amazing. And I'm the product manager, so be looking forward to seeing what that app looks like. I'll be the brains behind the look and the feel and what you guys get to experience. But I'm very much looking forward to
and
that
another
coming
way
out.
that you have pivoted and used your creativity to monetize.
Yep.
So great night, like date night. And a friend of ours, that's another thing. So again, when we talk about connectivity, I was like, hey, that's Ray in that photo, isn't it?
Right. The CEO of the company is a friend of hers, and that just happened to be just another connection.
So shout out to Ray Abram. But yes, Attiyah, follow her, check her out. She's on all social media platforms. And we thank Attiyah for being here with us. Yay.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.